I invite you to Moscow tour, but it will be not ceremonial Moscow, although it would be in the center, in the air of the Lenin Library and on the Hot Yard. I will introduce you to 8 surprising courtyards. So, courtyard number 1, classical. At the address street was Dvizhenka, located Pashkov's house, one of the most beautiful buildings in Moscow. Pashkov house was built in 1786. The great house survived the war of 1812, the Great Patriotic War, and didn't fall apart in 235 years. It decorated Moscow's Vagankovsky Hill. Nowadays, the house of Pashkov is the Russian State Library. Pashkov's house is mentioned by Bulgakov in Master and Margarita. At sunset high above the city on the stone terrace of one of the most beautiful buildings in Moscow were 2 men, Voland and Azazello. No one could see them from below, but almost the whole city was visible to them. Courtyard number 2, underground. From Moscow.
Back in the USSR. You don't know how lucky you are, boy. Back in the US, back in the US, back in the USSR.
Courtyard number 3, Wasteland. A little further among the beautiful front streets in Moscow, we see a collapsing and forgotten avant-garde in the wasteland. Courtyard number 4, architecture. At the end of Starovagankovsky Lane located the Shushev Museum of Architecture, in the courtyard of which we find archaeological exhibits. One of the museum buildings in the ruin outbuilding, it shows 3 centuries of Russian architecture, the arches of the first floor and the arches of the 18th century, the carriage shed of the Dalizins estate. In the first half of the 18th century, the building was built on the 2nd floor, and there was a manor house where the manor servants lived. In the second half of the 18th century, the 3rd floor was built for the Moscow treasury. All periods of building development were saved. This is a very rare case for Moscow. Courtyard number 5, constructing. We cross Vazvizhenka Street and move along Romanov Lane. So we can see a reflection of the old Znamenskaya church in the glass and shine of the modern office center Romanov Dvor. And among the expensive design, we find an archaeological find, a real furnace. We move forward, cross by Shaynikitskaya Street and turn into Bruslov Lane. Courtyard number 6, English. Suddenly, we get into the corner of true England on a Moscow street. This is the Anglican Church of the Apostle Andrew, the only Anglican church in Moscow. The temple was built in 1886 according to the design of the English architect Richard Neil Freeman in the Victorian Gothic style. Services are held in English. You can listen to organ concerts. Courtyard number 7, musical. At the end of Bruslov Lane is the House of Composers, in the courtyard of which a monument to Aram Khachaturan is erected. Not far from it is the square of Mstislav Rostropovich, in which a monument to the composer is erected. This is how 2 great musicians are standing along each other. Courtyard number 8, fantastic. So we go to Tverskaya Street and we can see amazing building. With a building called Savinsky Compound. It received this name due to the fact that it was built as part of the Savo-Starozhevsky Monastery. This masterpiece is more like a carved box or a fairy tale. He is hidden from an outsider's gaze by a Stalinist umpire. Now, to get into the courtyard of this building, you need to go through the arch of House 6 on Tverskaya Street. But until 1937, it was not necessary to pass through the arch because the house stood directly on Tverskaya. When in the 1830s, the Moscow authorities decided to build a new Soviet Moscow, the religious building was moved 20 meters deep. So our trip to the unexpected courtyards of Moscow came to an end. See you next time.